Greetings, fanboys and fangirls. Jared here with another video from Fanboys Forever, and today we're going to be unboxing the entire Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure series of Marvel Legends for the new Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings movie. Now, these were just released, and I believe the street date was April the 26th, and so it came out on a Sunday, so that was kind of a bizarre experience, kind of hunting around for figures on a Sunday. But I was actually able to round up all these figures at retail. As we go through the video and we unbox them all, so kind of be telling you about my experience and some things I learned about how to help you kind of secure these figures on release day so that you can get all of them at once. Some of it's just blind luck, but there are a few tricks involved that can help you do a little bit better on the hunt. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is based on the comic book character Shang-Chi. He is the son of the Mandarin in the comics. The Mandarin, of course, is the very infamous Iron Man villain. And Shang-Chi is known as the master of Kung Fu in the comic. I am very hyped about this movie, and I think that the trailer looks terrific. And I was very excited when I saw these revealed. And one of the biggest reasons was also to do with the really, really great attention to detail and likeness that Hasbro has been pumping into these guys. If it hasn't been obvious already, this is some of their very best photoreal facial scan technology printing that they've done, and I can't wait to get into the different actors and how well it worked for each one. I guess if there was one to start with, it would probably be the title character of Shang-Chi himself. Here we just have a quick little bio. Trained since childhood by the mysterious Ten Rings organization, Shang-Chi must confront the past that he thought he left behind when he's drawn back into his father's web. And it's just some cool artwork on the back there of Simu Liu as Shang-Chi. And just getting into the actual actor himself, Simu Liu is one of my very, very favorite comedic actors. And it's all because of this terrific show that I discovered on Netflix. And it's from Canadian television. And it's called Kim's Convenience. I really can't suggest it enough. I mean, it's an incredible show. It's very, very funny, and really, it's incredibly heartfelt. And that's how I became familiar with Simu Liu, and just what an incredible actor that he is, and very talented. And as we all know, chances are, if you can do comedy, you can do the full range. So this guy is incredibly talented. He plays a character on the show named Jung. And Jung is his family are Korean immigrants who live in Canada and run a convenience store, but he is estranged from his father. I'm just really excited to get this, and really excited about this photoreal face printing technology that they have. I mean, this looks like a real little person, and it really is like an exact match for the actor. Like, you could have just handed me this like 2 years ago when I first started watching Kim's Convenience, and I would have known instantly, even without, at the time, knowing what Shang-Chi looked like. I would have said, oh, that's Jung in a really cool outfit. So kudos to them. And it's from every angle, too, every conceivable angle. Really great work to the Hasbro design team. I think it looks fantastic. The truth is, we just don't know much about the movie at this point during the filming of this video. And as soon as we do, I think we'll get a better feel for how Shang-Chi is going to play with audiences. Will it be another phenomenon type of moment like Black Panther? That may be setting expectations a little too high, but I don't think it's impossible, and I certainly have high hopes for the movie. So right away, we can see that they're using the pinless technology for the legs. So I think that's really cool. That extends down to the shoes. What it doesn't extend to, though, is the arms, and it still uses the basic pin system. But really, that's not too bad. And I think that overall, this really comes together. Just visually, I think this is a real hit. It's going to be just a really cool look in the movie. Can't wait to see it. The latest trailer did not show us much footage of Shang-Chi himself wearing his hero costume here. And honestly, it isn't a whole lot like Shang-Chi's classic getup, which he mostly didn't wear a shirt, and he was wearing a headband. But really, I like it. I think just from a design standpoint, it's incredibly ornate. You can see all the little designs on the shirt, and it extends to the back. Although I have a feeling these should have been painted black back here. But still, it's enough. I like that he's just wearing tennis shoes. I think this looks really cool. So this is the Mr. Hyde wave. And it's named, of course, for the giant Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure that they have going. And I've always really loved Mr. Hyde from the old comics. And so this was actually a Build-A-Figure I was actually excited about. And lately, it's been kind of hit and miss if I really cared about the Build-A-Figure at all. So that was a pleasant surprise, even though it is a completely, I mean, I can't think of anything more disparate than putting Mr. Hyde as the Build-A-Figure for a mostly Shang-Chi movie wave. And here's the bow staff of the Master of Kung Fu himself. And of course, he comes with a bunch of alternate hands. And I like these because there's some kind of chi energy hands and just some unique kind of things that we really haven't seen before. So that's going to be fun. Here's Shang-Chi with his power pole. I mean bow staff. I'm waiting for him to summon the flying Nimbus with this thing. And here's Shang-Chi with his cool kind of chi energy hands. And this is just really neat. I like these a lot. The sculpting is really cool on these. Usually you don't see them try kind of intricate hands like this. And these are just really neat. The only thing that holds them back is the funny mold lines right here on the fingers. That's kind of distracting. This might be a case where I just need to sand that down a little bit. And it's not nearly as bad over here, but still really cool. Oh yeah, I was curious if we could get this position. This is doing it for me, yeah. I'm liking this. Gathering that chi. I guess he's gathering his Shang-Chi, though, right? I promise I won't make that joke again. And finally, Shang-Chi just comes with his kind of grappling hands, the kind of combat hands. These look really great. You can get all sorts of cool kind of martial arts poses with these. Shang-Chi's one holdback, I think, is that, you know, there's a terrific ab crunch, and it just does everything in the world you could hope for. But you're not going to get any kind of pivot in there. And there's no butterfly joints at the shoulders. And that would have been great to have had the Master of Kung Fu be able to be completely uninhibited with that. But I am glad that the design from the film doesn't inhibit the hips at all. I mean, you can practically do the splits with this guy. I mean, it can go about that far before it starts straining these. Maybe a little too much, but that's plenty of range. And Shang-Chi is going to be able to do just basically whatever you need him to do. And the head kind of helps sell some of the tilt that the torso can't. So I think it works really well, and you would be crazy to miss this guy. All right, next up we will get Shang-Chi's father, Wenwu. He's played by the immaculate Tony Leung here. I just think this is a very ornate figure. Now, you can see that he's got 10 rings around his arms, not the traditional kind of 10 rings that we know of that the Mandarin has. But I'm very fascinated with this. I'm not leaping to any kind of judgments or anything. I think it's cool that they went in this direction. And I'm glad that they're doing something so unexpected with the Mandarin. So let's go ahead and check it out. On the back, it says, Shang-Chi's father, Wenwu, is the feared leader of the Ten Rings organization, which has lurked in the shadows of the MCU since the very beginning. Isn't it funny how they actually say MCU on the packaging? It's kind of weird, isn't it? To the uninitiated, that's Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's weird to see them use kind of like a fan acronym. I don't know. It's kind of strange. And here we have Mr. Wenwu right here. Mr. Shang-Chi. He's the head of the household. But yeah, this is Shang-Chi's father, and he looks terrific. Wenwu here has some of the most impressive facial printing of the entire wave. This likeness for Tony Leung here is so impressive. And, you know, if you're familiar with the actor, you know the intricacies of the guy's face. And to say that they've nailed it is an understatement. I mean, this kind of, their facial printing in combination with this great sculpt is just really showing what they can do. And man, they are flexing. I would put this against any of the facial printing that I have seen in any of the import figures. And I really think Hasbro is killing it with this. And I saw a lot of samples of Wenwu, and almost none of them deviated whatsoever in terms of quality with the alignment of the facial printing. So good for them. I mean, it's fantastic. As for the visual qualities of the rest of the costume, you have all this great texture detail, and that's one thing we know about MCU costumes. It's all about the texture. You can see that he has this incredible sash, this kind of armor plate on the front, some armor on his ab area there, on the side, and on the back, more of that texture. And look at the printing on this. It's spectacular. There's even some cool silver details, like wind patterns on the boots down there. And the pants are, once again, the pinless technology. And this is as much detail as you can hope for. Even the skirt thing doesn't restrict his legs entirely. You can still get some decent kind of halfway splits, I suppose. And going forward, I wouldn't go any further than this, so it's kind of a shame that that's about all he can do. However, I don't suppose he'll be as physical as Shang-Chi himself in the film, but you never know. Of course, I imagine the Mandarin using more of his elemental powers derived from his 10 giant rings around his arms here, and these are really cool looking. I really wish the figure had come with some elemental effects, though, that he could like launch off of his hands. And, you know, of course, we have a whole library of elemental effects we can use. It's come with different figures over the years, but I still think it would have been neat to have seen him come with some of those. Like Father Like Son, he does come with a bevy of alternative hands. He does have a set of these kind of chi hands, so I really like these. And what's great is you'll be able to just use these with Shang-Chi as well. So that's really nice. He does have some gripping hands right here. And here's Wenwu's bladed weapon that he includes. I really like this thing. It's a very unique design as well. I suppose he'll be using this in the film. This is what he uses to grab Shang-Chi by the throat here and just haul him home. And of course, he comes with another piece of Mr. Hyde here. And he comes with this awesome cane, so this is exciting. Love this. All right, we're going to let those two duke it out back there. Next up, we're going to be looking at the Death Dealer, who I think goes after Shang-Chi. Certainly seems that way in the trailer, and he's one that I'm really excited about. It's also one that appears to be fairly short-packed in the case. Here it is in the back. Death Dealer is one of the most formidable opponents Shang-Chi has ever faced. And if you guys just take a minute to look at the comic book version of Death Dealer, this is, I think, one of my favorite visual adaptations of a bizarre and crazy comic book costume. I mean, they basically took something ridiculous and made it cool. Another piece of Mr. Hyde. All right, now here is the Death Dealer. And just looking at the details, this is by far one of the most detailed of the entire wave. Loving the texture on the robe here, this kind of kimono. And there's this cool like metal plate. You can see that there's all kinds of cool orange detail. The belt is really nice. All kinds of cool like armor. There's even intricate details like this like red symbol right here. And on the back, check this out. You have these tiny little daggers. They're not removable, but just that they're sculpted in there like that is so cool. Now, it would have been nice if you could have plucked these guys out, but they're so tiny and so ornate. I'm glad they're not falling out all the time, honestly. You even have these little ties here at the back and this cool like ponytail thing, which I don't believe there's any kind of posability to, so that's a shame. At the face, we have all this cool like war paint right here. And then we have, it almost looks like a kabuki mask. We have articulation, really good articulation actually at the arms. There's a cut there, double joints. We have hinges at the hands. Then moving down below, actually the splits aren't really inhibited. It appears that one of my knee pads didn't get enough glue. I can see where it's supposed to set in the little groove in there. Nothing's broken. It does need a dab of glue. So for the time being, just so that it's not constantly popping off as I pose this guy, I'm just going to set this to the side. And right here, you have double joints. We have a cut, and we have some excellent articulation down here. Now, these do have pins right here, which is fine. But overall, I'm impressed by how little everything is inhibited with this guy. So that's pretty awesome. So he does come with some pretty cool accessories. You can just switch the hands out, and you get this really cool accessory of him actually throwing the darts. It's like an effects piece. You can see the transparent piece there, and there's the hand. And then you also get this one, where he's holding one of the blades. And these are the blades that we saw stored in the bag. Random thought here, but when you guys hear the term Death Dealer, don't you think of that other guy?
You want to buy some death sticks?
Now, QC spotlight here. One thing that I'll say for quality control is I want to turn these, but they seem a little more frozen than some of the other ones did. It's always better to just put it in some hot water and let it set and then work on this stuff. So I'm not going to force it. I'd say it's fine. Ooh, nice red lining in the back there. Getting some Cobra Commander vibes from these color schemes. So other than some quality hiccups that were kind of unique to him, I think Death Dealer is much more visually interesting than the other two figures so far. And it has a lot to do with him sticking closer to the comic book source.
You want to go home and rethink your life?
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Next up, we'll go with Xiaoling. She is the estranged sister of Shang-Chi. It says, when her estranged brother Shang-Chi suddenly shows up in her life, Xiaoling must choose between the solitary life she's created for herself or join her brother in the fight against the Ten Rings. So it's interesting that there's so much kind of visual continuity between her costume and Shang-Chi's costume, which I actually really appreciate. Definitely Xiaoling and the Death Dealer are the two kind of short-packed figures. In the wave, they're the ones where they're only one per case. And here is the insane torso of Mr. Hyde. So I've turned down the contrast a little bit on my camera, so I don't want that to kind of, the details of the face to be lost if it's a little too blown out in terms of detail. I really think this is a really cool likeness. I am not as familiar with this actress and couldn't tell you her name, but it certainly looks like a very realistic looking person, so that's cool. I love all of the fine line work on the details of the costume. It certainly seems very accurate. It kind of makes me wonder if they're using some of this photo real printing just for like the clothing as well, because that line work seems awfully delicate to have been done in their old traditional methods. Here we have just some kind of gi pants. There are no pins on the arms, and there are no pins on the legs or at the ankles. So this is probably, this is one of the first figures I've owned from them that's just completely pinless. So that's terrific. She also is a little bit more articulated than her brother was, because with the diaphragm you can do so much more in terms of tilts and things like that. You can see that she does just have single joints, but they're cut in such a way, and you've seen them like this before, where they're just as effective as double joints. And we can see that we have some hinges there at the hands. We just have some kind of karate chop hands right there. Then down here, all sorts of articulation, double joints, of course, at the knees, and plenty of articulation at the ankles. No problems like Death Dealer had, where it was slightly frozen up. And yeah, by far, she is the most posable out of all of them so far. It's so easy to manipulate the figure that you just instantly start doing like martial arts stuff with it. So I think it looks really cool. She comes with by far the most ridiculous amount of hands. She has 5 alternate hands for a total of 7. We have 2 chi summoning hands. This is really cool. And just the intricacy of the hands on these is just awfully impressive. We have 2 fists. Then we have a holding hand. Now, Xiaoling's whole thing seems to be this using this rope here, and we'll go ahead and get into that. So here is Xiaoling wielding the rope, and it appears to be a bladed rope. So that's just something you can do for your poses. You can also take this, I guess, if you wish, and you could put it around her neck like this, or even by just threading the arm through, you can kind of have her wear it like a bandolier, which I think looks really cool as well. I just had to get lucky about finding this one. She was available online, particularly Target, but what I ended up doing was I just happened to go to my local Walmart, and it just so happens that they had just cracked open the case, and it was just sitting there open, and sure enough, there she was. So that is definitely how I found her and Death Dealer. I had had no luck up to that point because Target was totally cleaned out that morning. We'll add Xiaoling back here to the display. Speaking of Target, we will go ahead and take a look at the Target exclusive figure. It is Katie. Now, some people are speculating this will be like a love interest type of deal for Shang-Chi in the movie. And she just so happens to be played by an actress I really, really love. And that is Awkwafina. Says Katie is Shang-Chi's oldest friend. She's free-spirited and she's fiercely loyal. So if you don't know Awkwafina, she is hilarious. She's not only an actress, but she is a comedian and a rapper. She's all sorts of things. So Awkwafina is very, very funny. The first time I ever saw her was in Crazy Rich Asians, which is a terrific, terrific movie. I think Marvel is very smart to cast these actors who are so skilled with comedy. So let's just take a quick look at the likeness itself. And this is a absolutely terrific likeness to Awkwafina. I mean, this is, they've got it just right. They've got it just right on the nose. And I think this is, again, this is them kind of flexing. This is their realistic kind of face print technology combined with the sculpt scan technology that they do. And this is just awesome. I really like the ornate quality of the robe. It's funny this is a Target exclusive because she is wearing a large red robe. So it's kind of like, it's almost themed to the store, right? The way that I was able to get her, this is a great trick for you guys just to use in general, and I was very surprised that this is the way it worked, is I couldn't sleep the night before, and I kind of woke up in the middle of the night, and I was on the Target app trying to see if they had listed anything the night before, and sure enough, they had all their pre-orders up for Shang Chi figures. But interestingly, they had a store pickup option before the store opened. So what I was able to do was just go in there and do store pickup for this one and several of the others. So that didn't work for Xiaoling or Death Dealer, probably because they were short packed and they didn't have the quantities on hand to guarantee that you would get one from a store pickup kind of thing. But it worked perfectly with the Katie figure, and it's a good thing I did it, because by the time I got there, all the ones that would have been on hand were gone. So it's just a little tip for you. Katie also comes with this really cool quiver for the arrows on her bow, and I mean, look at the ornate detailing here with this paintwork. This is some cool next level stuff that they're doing. She also comes with a little bundle of arrows and a separate singular arrow. And so I imagine the bundle would go right there and it threads to the bottom. And you, I suppose, could put the singular arrow right there on the side if you wished. And you can just fit it right over. So it ends up completing the look really nicely. And from the back, that looks really cool as well. Katie also comes with this cool bow. Perhaps the string isn't as small as it needs to be, but I think that's understandable. I like that the hand is sculpted to kind of hold the bow adequately. So here she is all geared up with the bow and the singular arrow in the other hand. And she also includes just a couple of fists. Plenty of great range at the head. The diaphragm actually can move around quite a bit. Really, really great stuff up and down. The sash and all the cool detailing on it, by the way, helps hide some of that gappage. We also have plenty of range at the arms. We have a single joint, but once again, it's kind of cut to where it can be more effective, so you get a little bit more than 90 degrees. There's hinges at the hands. And down here, even though the dress really restricts it on this side, over here you get a little bit more, and you can tell that it's a double joint. It can't go up very much, and that's just kind of the limitations of the skirt. Down here, though, you get a really good ankle hinge, and it even swivels at above the ankle, and plenty of pivot. Now, there's some obvious comparisons to be made with the look of the live-action Mulan. And I've heard a lot of people kind of compare the look and the wardrobe to that. I think it's a little, I don't know, it might be a little extreme to say that it's like an exact kind of thing, because Aquafina is definitely her own look, her own person, so I think that's a little silly. And it's not something that I put much stock into. But, there is a little bit of a visual likeness there with the red, I suppose, and the bow and arrow. And we're going to add Katie back there to the fight. So even though Katie doesn't actually come with one of the Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure parts, she does come with this really interesting little thing. And this guy is one of the very first, maybe the first animal sidekick. I don't want to count Rocket Raccoon. He's more of just like a character in Groot. But this is Morris, apparently, and it looks like a puppy thing with wings that also has purple and blue highlights underneath. I don't know, but this is interesting looking. We'll see how this comes into play, and it doesn't appear to have a head, so we'll see. And with that, you can see that we kind of have our movie scene assembled. If you're wondering what the little diorama piece is back there, it came with the original Snake Eyes, the very first one they did that was the con exclusive for G.I. Joe Classified. And so it's just a really cool piece that I'll probably end up using with my Shang-Chi stuff. So that leaves us with the two figures that aren't related to the film, and they're there in the back. We'll go ahead and do the Civil Warrior. Now, the Civil Warrior here is a video game character, actually, from the Contest of Champions mobile game, I think. I've never played it, but it's really interesting. I think it's supposed to be like an alternate reality or something. I'm not really sure. There's some cool artwork on the back. And apparently, in an alternate Earth ravaged by civil war, Captain America assumes the mantle of Civil Warrior. I think in this version of events, Iron Man dies at the end of Civil War, and Steve Rogers, in his grief, I think, uses pieces of the Iron Man armor and combines it with Captain America to kind of take up the mantle as something new altogether, the Civil Warrior. So it's a cool idea. I'll certainly add it to my collection of 6-inch Iron Man figures. But truthfully, you know, you're getting this for one thing probably, and that is to complete your Mr. Hyde. And here's Mr. Hyde here. He's looking pretty interesting. He's got a lot of gums to him there, so that's interesting. I do like that the shield is a combination of the arc reactor with the Captain America shield, so that's cool. And on the back, there's all this cool detail that they probably didn't even have to include. So he looks pretty cool. I'm really liking the design for this armor. The articulation is very wide-ranging at the abs there. Arms work well. Double joints at the elbows. Hinges at the hands. Down here we have some nice detailing on the pants. They have the kind of MCU texture to them. Double joints at the knees. We have some nice articulation at the ankles. We do have a swivel there at the waist. I'm liking this guy. He's much better than I thought he would be, and certainly very visually interesting. I'm liking the head sculpt there. I suppose it would be cool if they would have included like a Steve Rogers head. Remember, we have a little clasp here, and this is just for the wrist. Put that on, and boom, you've got a shield. Or you can use this peg here. You just put that into his hand, and he's ready to hold it like this. So yeah, this isn't bad at all for fans of Captain America or Iron Man. Kind of the best of both worlds type of thing. We're going to put him over here with the Death Dealer and Wing Wu. We're going to say he's confused. He's come from an alternate reality. Cut him some slack. And the final figure that we'll be looking at is the Tony Stark AI figure. So this is when Tony is just an AI. That's why he's blue. But he's wearing the classic armor. I do like the artwork quite a bit on the back of the packaging here. I like that. There's something cool about it. I don't know. It reminds me almost of the Extremis Tony Stark, or Extremis, however you want to say it. I always thought it was Extremis. In the movie, they said Extremis. So who knows? After a tragic battle, Tony Stark lives on in digital form as a hologram at the helm of a high-powered robotic suit of armor. So this is pretty interesting. You never know. It's maybe a path they take in the MCU. I don't really know how they're going to handle the situation they currently find themselves in, but all right, get this guy out. So this is pretty much a straight up reuse of that Alex Ross Iron Man and the last piece of Mr. Hyde. So here we have Tony right here in all of his AI glory, and I'm really liking the head sculpt. It's super detailed. However, I can't be the only one that sees this and think, oh man, what a shame that it's not just a standard flesh tone Tony Stark head. So I know that defeats the purpose of what they were going for, but I can't help myself. I'm telling you, I really do like the quality of the plastic here, that it almost seems kind of like shiny or toyetic or something. I don't know. I just kind of like that. It's very much the opposite of what they had done with this sculpt when it was the Alex Ross version, because they did just kind of a metallic all the way through. And so I'm glad to see this version. You can certainly get it a little closer to kind of old school looking Iron Man artwork that doesn't assume that he's like metallic. It's just flat out primary red and yellow. So I think that's what makes it exciting for me. One thing I'm not so crazy over, and I know this is supposed to go with the hologram thing, is the blue arc reactor. I've always had a hard time getting behind that. I don't know. To me, when I see like classic comic book Iron Man, I expect it to be yellow or white. Let me know in the comments if you're the same way. Who knows? Maybe that's just me. It is kind of funny that because it's translucent, you can see the peg back there coming through. So that's kind of funny. Plenty of neck articulation as well. But I'm not going to keep this on here. It's a neat idea. I'm going to be putting the classic Iron Man head. Took a little doing putting on. But here it is, and it looks great and very much a match for that old school artwork. So I really like this. It is funny to me, and you can't really tell here, but if you look, and it's hard to see with my lights, it is actually blue back there with the mouth and the eyes. And once again, I know that goes with the whole holographic thing. I think it needs to be black myself, but that's just because I'm a purist for those old Iron Man comics. But I really do like this, and I think it's nifty. He does come with a couple of alternate repulsor blast hands, and you can see that we can just pop those blasts in. There's two of them, of course. And here he is with the repulsor blast. So I think that looks terrific. You can take the repulsor blast if you wish and just put him down there at the boot so he can blast off that way if you want. Yeah, this is an unexpected surprise for me. He did appear to be the peg warmer of the wave. They appeared to have kind of overdid it with how many of these guys are in a case. So this is one that you can kind of hold off on if you wish until you see him around. But if you're going to complete that Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure, you have to grab it. And just when you thought things couldn't get crazier, Iron Man is going to join the fray. Guns blazing. Tony's had one too many, and he doesn't care who he hits. You know, it's funny to think about, but Iron Man's inclusion in the wave isn't crazy or anything because of the connection with Wing Wu, the Mandarin. So it does make a certain level of sense that he is included. So that's kind of a neat connection. Well, the gang's all here, and that means there is just one thing left to do. We're going to be assembling Mr. Hyde. With these giant hulking Build-A-Figures, sometimes these limbs are really hard to get in, so let's see. Yep, that's hard to do. And here's the other leg. And that was way too difficult to get those legs in. Let's get the arms in. That's easy. And the other. Very nice. And the head. And here is the fantastic Mr. Hyde Build-A-Figure. Now, if you're a fan of this character from his 70s and 80s appearances like I am, when he fought all sorts of different Marvel characters, this is a must-have Build-A-Figure for you. And there was just something about it, seeing him realized just this well, with this much detail and the huge cane accessory, even putting his bowler hat on there, which he doesn't always have in a lot of those old appearances, but he does part of the time. I just felt like this was an awesome addition. All the crazy detail on the face, the crazy detail on the rest of the body. This was just a really, really great idea for a Build-A-Figure. It's still a little weird that he's the Build-A-Figure for the Shang Chi movie wave, or at least mostly the Shang Chi movie wave. But you know what? I will take Mr. Hyde however I can get him because this is so cool. I can't wait to have like Spider-Man and Daredevil and other classic looking heroes fighting him. I think it's going to look terrific. Word of warning though, I will say that it took me forever to get these legs attached correctly. And finally I had to figure out how to do it. And I just had to keep twisting them around and around and around at this cut right here until finally they locked into place. If I hadn't done that, I honestly thought there was something wrong and they were just coming off and getting separated every single time I tried to move the figure. Speaking of articulation, there's some movement at the head here, the ball joint. And then we have some really good hinges at the shoulders. Goes around. And we have a ball joint hinge right here. And it's pretty good. It's just single, but it works. We do have a hinge and swivel at the hands there. Go down and we do have a cut there at the waist. We do have a diaphragm joint, which allows him some movement, which is important for Mr. Hyde because he needs to be kind of hulking over. And then down here, we can do the splits a little bit. We can do a really good kick, really, for the size of figure it is. There is a cut, but like I said, you'll need to work around and around. A single hinged ball joint there. We can swivel that around. And there is a hinge down here and a little bit of ankle pivot, enough to where you can hold those wider stances. So he has plenty of articulation. All right, my friends, and that will do it for this insane new assortment of Marvel Legends action figures. It truly is the wild degree of characters that you get. Everything from an animal sidekick named Morris, all the way to classic Iron Man, to movie Shang-Chi, to Mr. Hyde, to a video game character. If you're looking for variety, Marvel Legends has you covered, I would say. This is definitely what I would call speculative toy buying. When you're not really sure what a movie is going to be like, but you're just going based off the trailer and you get excited, you get hyped, and you go for it. And that's exactly what's happened here. I personally thought the trailer for Shang-Chi looked amazing. Marvel's marketing team are geniuses, so they were sure to get that trailer out right before this dropped. It's funny now, Marvel has talked about this, and they've made no secret about the fact that the situation the world found itself in the past couple of years definitely affected the release schedule and has caused the Marvel Legends team to get more time to work on some things and kind of throw off the release schedule for others. And so you've got this funny situation where these figures have probably been ready for a while, and it's probably allowed them to refine the decos, refine the photo print stuff, get everything right. And I think that that really shows through in these products. You know, it's funny that I'm so appreciative of these figures on a movie I've not even seen, but I think that they're just very, very great standout, realistic action figures. When it comes to capturing like actor likenesses and realism, I'm not sure that they've ever done better. And it's terrific. I hope this is a sign of things to come, and I really enjoyed what I saw here. Also, love the choice of Build-A-Figure, guys. Keep that coming with those classic heavy characters like that. As for the Shang-Chi film itself, I am definitely very curious as to what it's going to be like. I am a huge fan of martial arts and fantasy martial arts, of course, so I can't wait to see what we end up with. I do think it's going to be a special project, and I hope that it does for Asian representation what the Black Panther did for the African American community. I thought that was fantastic, and I think it's great that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they have created something that doesn't feel cheap, it doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel like it's something that they're just trying to shoehorn this stuff in. It really does feel that kids from places all over the world can see themselves in these characters, and I love it that Marvel is so dedicated to this, just like the comic books were before them. Expanded diversity was something that the comics pushed for back in the olden days, and even the Uncanny X-Men themselves, with the all-new giant-sized X-Men, were part of a diversity initiative at Marvel. So you can't tell me that it hasn't always been a part of the DNA of the brand, and I love to see it come to fruition in the way that Shang-Chi is bringing it to fruition. We can only hope that the film is just as good as the performers that are involved in it, and as cool as these action figures are. So can't wait to see what else they do. As for any other Shang-Chi merchandise that's out there that I may be interested in, they do have kind of that large size, kind of kiddie-ish looking Great Protector dragon, the red and white dragon. I think that looks kind of interesting. I think that looks cool. So that might be something that I try to get a hold of just to put with these guys like in a display. There's also a couple of Lego sets out there from the movie, and I'm thinking about getting in on some of those, especially the one with the Great Protector dragon. That just looks like an epic build, regardless if it was Shang-Chi or what it was. So guys, down below, let me know what you think about this new Shang-Chi wave. Is it not really your thing, and are you more of just a comic book only kind of collector when it comes to Marvel Legends? Are you as excited about the Shang-Chi movie and the trailer as I am? Do you think it's going to be good? Let me know down in the comments below, and let me know if you plan on picking up any of these figures, or is this just a pass for you? Anyway, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure that you subscribe and hit that like button because it does help our videos out so much, and it really helps the algorithm, of course. Guys, we thank you so much for watching. God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Take care. Fanboy out. Shang-Chi, this is your father, the Mandarin. I am going to let you live in America for 10 years and eat at McDonald's and wear blue jeans. But that's it. No, come on, Dad, really? Okay, I'll let you also go to Canada and help a Korean family run a convenience store. Yes.